Our theme this time is technology and truth. We want the truth, which means we want better technology to help us better find the truth, to better know our world and ourselves. But before getting to the truth, we must start with deception and its detection, and the arms race between them for reality. An arms race that is found wherever there's competition, in nature, business, sports, and politics, and in daily life. And we'll see how technology evolves because of this arms race to conceal truths and reveal truths, and therein lies the hope of progress. Now, here's something we all share, and it's an inconvenient truth. We are all liars. All of us. We lie all the time. We lie to ourselves. We lie to the people we love. We lie to our closest friends.
Feeling really under the weather. Yeah. Oh, God, he just vomited a little. Ugh, I'm so sorry, but we're not going to be able to make it tonight.
I'm going to be there soon. I'm like 5 minutes away. I'm 5 minutes away. I'm on the highway.
Been in the bathroom a long time. What you doing in there?
Oh, just finishing my book.
Why do people lie? Because most of the time it works. Evolution selects for skilled deceivers. If someone deceives you without you knowing, then they can benefit at your expense. Which then further selects for better deceivers to evade detection. A hyena sneaks up to steal a fresh meal from an exhausted cheetah. But the deceptive hyena doesn't get the last laugh. Watch very closely. There's one more deception. So then evolution selects for better detectors to detect deception and not get tricked. It's a reality arms race. It's also how self-deception evolved, a coping mechanism to help us deal with painful realities. But self-deception also evolved for another reason, which is that if we deceive ourselves, we better deceive others. And if we believe it's true, then others are more likely to also. In any showdown between prey and predator, the small guys, the underdogs, they bluff and puff themselves up. They must deceive both themselves and their opponent, because acting overconfident against the odds is the key to survival. Overconfidence against the odds is the key to survival of another underdog species that we spend our days with: entrepreneurs. In fact, you could say Lux's entrepreneurs march to the beat of a different drum, with great confidence. To believe or not to believe, that is the question, the battleground between deception and detection, wherever there's competition. Let's take sports. Watch the deception and misdirection in this kickoff.
This kick is always going to go down here. Now watch to the other side. They're going to make it look like the ball has drifted to the right. Look at the Seahawks chasing it.
And the ball lands up top here on the 10-yard line. Even faked our cameraman out.
Or in lacrosse, this hidden ball trick, which totally deceives the defense.
Hidden ball trick, 55, and White's got it. Tinney, he's got the goalie here. He's got him! He's got him! He's got him! Joel Tinney with the hidden ball trick!
Follow the ball, people. Everyone thinks 44 and White has it. 55's got other ideas.
In business, CEOs work hard to keep secrets and recipes from being discovered, and competitive business demands secrecy and confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. You've heard stories of penniless Mike Ovitz renting luxury cars for his agents to project success, a version of fake it till you make it. Now we have deep fakes, which are a version of make it to fake it, where artificial intelligence is making artificial portraits. Take 2 seconds and look at these photos and see if you can pick the one that is totally fake, where the person is not real. Okay, if you had the brunette on the bottom, you are correct. Very skillful. Actually, if you had any of the faces as fakes, you were correct. They were all rendered by AI. So-called deepfakes, from photoshopped images to doctored videos, can put words in people's mouths with serious consequence. From a deepfake well-known tech exec,
imagine this for a second. One man with total control of billions of people's stolen data, all their secrets, their lives, their futures.
To a deepfake head of state.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, President Trump is a total and complete...
You get the point. Now thieves are using deepfake audio to impersonate a CEO down to the German accent to authorize a real wire transfer. In nature, there's no shortage of tricksters. Viruses and bacteria deceive our immune system to get into our body, and cancer cells put out disguise markers to trick us into thinking that they're healthy cells. The evolutionary arms race has created truths stranger than fiction. From the illusions of the octopus to the gecko that deceives our eyes and blends in perfectly. We're the fish who lures prey by dangling a body part that looks like a wiggly worm. What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. The spider's near invisible trap. Or maybe the most insane deception of all. Now look very closely at the spider, who is no spider at all, but the tricky tail of a snake that dupes a bird from thinking it's getting dinner to becoming dinner. The science of animal camouflage directly influenced military camouflage, an evolving arms race between discovering the truth and evading its detection. Armies have the same interest in disguise as predators and prey. We're here, but want you to think we're not. From Trojan horses, to the stealthy and speedy, to the subtle. The day after Pearl Harbor got bombed, Lockheed Martin ammunition plants became America's most important military asset, and thus a target. So Lockheed quickly scrambled to disguise them as a decoy California suburb from above made out of burlap covers, replete with rolling hills that hid factories and workers underneath. But militaries have an additional interest. We're not here, but want you to think we are. Many in key military units of deception weren't soldiers at all, but painters and artists and architects and stage magicians. Engineers at Bell Labs made fake soundtracks of tank movements, blasted over massive speakers to make our forces seem larger. And the Allied Ghost Army in World War II set up inflatable tanks and rubber airplanes and trucks on over 20 fake battlefields. The key in military deception is not what you want the enemy to think, but what you want them to do. During World War II, Nazis successfully intercepted and decoded papers from a British officer. He had washed ashore with a briefcase chained to his wrist, and inside were plans that Britain would attack German-held Greece. So, Hitler promptly moved Nazi troops from France to Greece to surprise and stop a British invasion, but it was all a deception. The British actually took a corpse of a homeless guy from the morgue, gave him an elaborate military identity, and dumped his body ashore to be found, and the deception worked perfectly, and it gave the British Army cover to get 160,000 troops in undetected. The point is this: the arms race between deception and detection is an infinite game, and it leads to ever-improving technology. Sonar was invented to detect submarines. And to evade sonar, subs then got built with silent engines powered by nuclear. China has now invented water-penetrating lasers to detect subs from the sky. Detection went from technology of optics and spyglass that could reveal enemies hiding at a distance to detecting enemies hiding in darkness, with the technology of night vision. Detection technology further evolved from spy planes that caught Russian missiles that were snuck into Cuba to today's reconnaissance satellites and continuous electronic monitoring that make it hard for army-scale deception, and Lux companies like Planet and Orbital Insight and Kymeta capture and communicate and analyze pixels and patterns of life. In this arms race, surveillance is the ultimate detection, and cameras are everywhere. Now, how will future people behave if they worry not of a watching God, but of God's eye cameras watching their every move? If you have nothing to hide, should you care? People now lament that privacy is dead, But the infinite game between detection and deception is alive. Sci-fi comic writers have imagined a hyper-surveilled near future where fashion follows the demand to control your identity, and so every day becomes Halloween, with elaborate costumes and masks. A new technology of projection mapping can deceive observers at the speed of light, from fashion to face masks. Art imitates life, which imitates art. Take the fiction of V for Vendetta. Protesters in Guy Fawkes masks march en masse, which births an anonymous identity, which becomes a universal symbol of protest, which escapes fiction into reality. This is Hong Kong today. Surveillance can oppress or help free. It can reveal what really happened. It can reveal moments of innocent self-reflection. And moments of foolishness. Repeated over and over again. And moments of poetic justice. It can also reveal otherwise peaceful moments when our best friends choose to deceive us just for laughs. This arms race between deception and detection is innate. On the one hand, we are born to seek truth. On the other hand, we're born to deceive. A 6-month-old baby can fake a cry. And toddler brothers can frame each other.
Who was playing in the fridge and played with the eggs?
Connor. Not me, Connor. Not me, Sean. No, Connor. No.
Every day, an entire industry of advertising exists to deceive us. From burgers to pancakes. To beer. The distance between reality and what others want us to believe is the scale of the deception. And the bigger the deception, the more we want the truth. Which is why, in general, we hate liars. We hate liars. Yet, we also love liars. Some liars don't have to take our money, we give it to them. And the more they lie, the better they lie, the more money we give them. We call them actors. An entire class of people paid to lie to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
It's also why we love magicians.
So some see this glass as half full, some see it as half empty, but I see it as a piece of cake.
And why we love technology. Because acting and magic and technology are honest lies. We may not know how the trick is done or how the device works, but we consent to being deceived. And that's the key difference. We consent. Because otherwise, we want the truth. We want to know when we are innocently mistaken so that we can error correct, and we want to know when we are being intentionally deceived. Because we want the truth. We evolved a universal emotion, a disgust for being deceived. We want to catch and punish people who try to dupe us or betray us, whether they are traitors and spies, or champion cheats, or the phony, folksy predator, or the once-adored adulterer, or bunco artists bilking billions from innocent investors. We want answers. We want the truth.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
The truth is, deception is everywhere. Here's one recent example from Hollywood. When Black Panther and Captain Marvel got released, hateful, angry internet trolls flooded over 50,000 negative fake reviews. Why? They didn't want people to see the movies and celebrate women and people of color. We want the truth, so we invent the technology to get it. One Lux company, called Yonder, invented tech that detected the deception and helped the studios and the review sites rid the toxic fake news. Everyone says we live in an age of fake news, and sure, media changed from 3 channels with trusted anchors to thousands of alternative outlets, leaving us unsure what to believe. But when was the golden age of truth? When would we prefer to go back to? The 1920s? The dawn of the printing press? The Middle Ages? Biblical times? We've always believed all kinds of untrue things. People believed the earth was flat, that the sun went around the earth, that life spontaneously generated. But through all of history, there is one constant: people who don't want to be deceived. People like Copernicus and Galileo and Pasteur. People who invent technology to detect truth. Technologies to measure and weigh and record and count and compute. We invent the technology of the antenna to detect wireless signals, from Marconi's giant kludge to Kymeta's tiny flat panel antenna beaming bandwidth to and from space satellites. We invent the technology of radar to detect objects at a distance, from the very first giant radar to the tiny laser-based LiDAR of Ava. We invent the technology of the X-ray to detect under our skin, and then invent the high-speed millimeter waves of Evolve to detect under our clothes. We invent the telescope to see farther than our eyes can see, from first glimmers of our own solar system to entire galaxies light years away. Now, sending probes to better know the truth of our universe and our origins. We invent satellites that go from transmitting radio waves that will lead to GPS and accurately tell us the truth of where we are, to transmitting daily high-res images of ground truth. The camera, invented to capture a single fleeting moment, has now become gigapixel video recording 10,000 moments a second. We go from crude microscopes uncovering first glimpses of jiggling life, to cutting-edge lasers revealing whole worlds inside of cells, paving the way for countless new discoveries. We invent ever better technology to better detect the truth. And that means better precision, better accuracy, better resolution, which in turn gives us better maps and models of our world and our oceans and our roads, our cells, and ourselves. The truth exists, only falsehoods have to be created. And so this never-ending arms race between deception and detection keeps going. But thankfully, the founders we fund keep going, following a long line of truth seekers who invent technologies to discover the undiscovered and expose the intentionally covered, to extinguish deep fakes and illuminate deep truths. And therein lies the hope of progress. And that is the truth.